immediately attracted to this project because it was looking at the office type itself, particularly in terms of looking at blending work and life, reusing existing building types and doing that in a sustainable way. And I found this really interesting and a potential model for going forward with office designs.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think it resonated with all of us, I think, because it's done all the right things and it's executed them very well, I think, from what we see here. And interestingly enough, in the debate about some of the other schemes, this is the one that does take the centre core out, and it does allow the building to breathe, it does create places for people to work, and it acknowledges that there's a changing population and how people are working in office buildings has moved forward. And I think that it's quite encouraging actually to see adaptive reuse in the States, which is quite unexpected. I thought you might see more of this around Europe, and I think it's something we are encouraging, aren't we, and endorsing, saying that actually this is a model that you could seriously roll out across many downtown US cities and have a major impact on the quality of the buildings in the public realm and the quality of space for people to work in. So I think it's, for those reasons, I think it stood out, definitely.
I think also the idea of this sort of empty box,
Mm-hmm.
which is highly transformable for individual business uses, so they're not already assumptions made about how this building's going to be occupied.
Yeah. Well, I think the runner-up did come very close, and it was obviously quite a tight-run decision in the end, because they're two very different building types. So it's difficult to maybe compare a adaptive reuse of an old government office building and a reinterpretation of a contemporary supermarket in a northern town in England. I think that we definitely felt that the architect's sensitivity to relating what is quite an anonymous retail environment specifically to its place, with the references to lace and the way that's woven into its the architectural language, and in particular the environment that they create internally of a place that actually you can imagine being a fantastic retail experience, is definitely something that's taking that building typology forward. And as I said, it's a very close run decision because they're so different in terms of the typology.
I think we were interested to see how the landscaping scheme would develop on the runners-up scheme. I think we also liked it because the idea that there's something to look down on, mm-hmm. and a very attractive roofscape.
Yeah.
I think legibility in any project is important because it needs to take into consideration the site and how it interacts with the adjoining buildings and adjoining quarters. It's very easy today for many buildings to look the same, whereas what we're after in many respects is for a building to have its own uniqueness. And also, when you're in that building, you've got to understand how you move around it. So the legibility of moving within the building should be obvious through the design of that building.
Right. The things that immediately stood out were the constraints of the site plan, and the fact that they used that by expanding on that, by cantilevering at upper levels. But actually the main thing I think is that the whole is made up of a series of very simple elements, and those elements are very efficient in themselves and actually very easily understood, and then they're stacked to make, I suppose, something more complex but something very enjoyable and still something very sensible. So it's the way that simplicity can add to complexity, but actually I think it's a very efficient, understandable, legible office building.